200 hours, that's how long it takes to make one close friend, the person you can call at 3 a.m. in the morning. A researcher named Jeffrey Hall counted it. 50 hours just to reach casual friend. Now put a second number next to it. The share of adults with no close friends at all has more than quadrupled since 1990, from 3% to 17%. The time spent with friends has dropped by over a third in a single decade. And your circle of people? Tracked across millions of lives, it peaks at 25 and shrinks every year after that for the rest of your life. So before you decide the problem is you, stop. You are not bad at friendship. You're being asked to build alone, and the minutes you have left at the end of the day, a thing that costs 200 hours, and that every woman before you was simply born into. That's not a personal thing and a personal feeling. It's a maths problem nobody showed you. Let me show you. If you've ever looked at your own phone and thought, there is no one I can call, subscribe and tap like. Not for me. So it reaches the next woman sitting with that exact feeling in the exact silence. Sure, she's the only one. My name is Natallia Miranchuk. I have rebuilt my life in a new country 3 times, which means 3 times I've watched an entire circle of women vanish from my life and had to learn from zero as a grown woman with children and no time how to actually make a friend again. This channel is where we talk about the things women carry alone and where we were told that these are personal feelings and are personal fallings, but they have never been. So stay till the end. Let me show you the number that changed how I see all of this. A researcher named Jeffrey Hall had actually measured how long it takes to make a friend, not metaphorically, in hours. To turn a stranger into your casual friend, around 50 hours together. To turn that into a real friendship, about 90. And to become someone who you call a close friend, the one that you can call at 3 a.m. in the morning, less than 200 hours. 200 hours, sit with that. And now the part that almost cruel. The hours that you spend working next to someone barely count. His research found that people who'd logged hundreds of hours with colleagues still call them someone they have just met. Friendship isn't built in hours you've been useful. It's built in useless hours, the hanging around, the nothing in particular, the talk that isn't about getting anything done. So the real question was never why am I bad at friendship? It's when in your actual week, do you have 200 useless hours to give? That's the whole problem in one sentence. Nobody is short on love. Everybody is short on useless hours. We just barely don't have them. Now think back to when you did have people, really had them. For most of us as women, it's school, university, first jobs, and we tell ourselves a flattering story. I was more open then, more fun, I hadn't got guarded yet. That's not what happened. What happened is that back then, life did the work for you. School, college are 200-hour machines, the same faces every day in the same place with huge stretches of unstructured time around the edges, the walk, the dorm, the waiting rooms around, the nothing to do hours. You didn't make those friends, the structure made them. And you got to stand inside of it. There is a study out of Oxford and Alta that tracked millions of people contacts, and they found something really brutal. Our social circle peaks at around 25. After that, on average, for the rest of our lives, we'll lose more people than we gain. Not because we get worse. because right around then the machine turns off. You leave the shared buildings, everyone scratches to different cities, different schedules, different lives, and for the first time friendship stops being something the world hands you. You have to deal with that yourself, and it becomes something that you have to manufacture by hand against the clock. Nobody warns you that the machine turns off. You just feel that the friends are things that is out of your scope and assume it was something wrong with you. This is close to why I built Sola. There is a specific kind of loneliness that isn't about having no one at all at 3 a.m. The moment that you need to say something to someone out loud and there is generally no one to send it to. And without a long reply, you don't get that satisfaction. Sola is an AI companion for exactly that hour, somewhere to put their thought down, to be heard, not judged, just trusted and supported. Download it on App Store and share your experience with Sola. And then, for many women, comes the thing that scares the circle completely. And it arrives disguised as a happy event, so nobody allowed to come and name what it costs. Children. Overnight, 200 useless hours are gone. Every hour now has a job, and a strange thing happens to your friendship. They don't disappear exactly. They mutate, and you still see women constantly, but now you talk in the doorway, at the pickup, over the kids' heads, in fragments, always half watching someone small. You trade logistics, you become, without deciding to, logistics, friends, real warmth, real liking, and almost never one single hour that actually yours, uninterrupted, to go deep. And here is a number that quietly tells the whole story. When researchers asked adults who is the first person that turned to you with a real problem, more than half said that this is their partner. Only about 1 in 6 said it's their friend. One person is carrying what a whole circle used to do. We didn't decide that was a good idea. It's just what left when the circle gets smaller and one person is still standing in the room. So if you are a mother and your friends have gone sane and functional, you are not neglecting them. You are just living through a genuine earthquake, or our culture refuses to call one. It hands you a baby and expects the friendship to survive on the crumbs of the time that is left over. They can't. That's not your failing. That's the physics. And there is a particular grief in this that almost no one gives you permission to feel, because the friendship will lose as adults mostly don't, and there is an agreement. Nobody betrays anyone. There is no scene, no final conversation. She just moved. You had the baby, life got loud, the messages got slower rather than it used to be, and neither of you had the energy to write it. And one day you realize a person who once knew everything about you now knows nothing, and you don't even know when it happened. There is a name for a loss with no ending, no funeral, and no moment to mourn. Ambiguous loss. And it's one of the hardest kinds to carry, precisely because you are not allowed to grieve it. She's not gone, you didn't fall out. So you tell yourself it doesn't count. It counts. That quiet ache when an old name surfaces, that's the real grief. For a real love that mattered, you are allowed to miss her. Missing her doesn't mean you failed. It means it was real. If this is the first time someone told you the loneliness isn't a character flaw, that's the whole reason I write. Once a week, I send one letter, the research and the honest conversation that don't fit in a video, in a plain language, with the sources that you can go check them yourself. It's free. Link is in the description. So none of it was your fault. But here is where it turns, because there is a real power in knowing the recipe and recite once you stop beating yourself up for not having it by instinct. Friendship needs three things. An adult's life removes all three, so you have to put them back on purpose. First, repetition. The same person again and again on a rhythm. One perfect dinner every 8 months builds nothing. A media source walked every single week builds a friend. Second, useless time, unstructured, purposeless, no agenda. So stop trying to only meet when here's an occasion. The occasion is the enemy. Invite her to do nothing together with you. Fold laundry on a video call. Run errands together. That's where it actually grows. Third, and this is the one from the research that surprised me most of all, a context shift. People who become close almost always start seeing each other outside the place they meet. The school gate, the office, the glass, those give the repetition, but they trap the friendship in one narrow room. It deepens the first time you see her somewhere else. So the move is small and specific. Take one person you actually like from the context and move her to another context. Coffee outside in the school run, a walk outside the office. The single shift is often the whole difference between an acquaintance for 10 years and a friend. None of that is be more likable. It's engineering condition your grandmother had for free. But there is a wall in front of all of it, and I have to name it. Almost every woman I know is standing behind the same wall, thinking the same thing. I don't want to seem desperate. I don't want to be the one who always reaches out. What if she doesn't actually want me? So everyone waits to be chosen. A whole city of women, each one a little lonely, each one certain to reach out, has to come from the other side. The friendship recession isn't really a shortage of women who wants friends. It's a standoff, millions of people all waiting for someone else to go first. The woman who reaches first isn't the needy one. She's the one who breaks the standoff for her whole circle. Every single time I force myself past the wall, send the slightly too eager message said, "This is random, but do you want to walk on Thursday?" I have never once regretted it. No once. The fear said, I'd look desperate. What came back almost every time was relief, because she was behind the exact same wall, waiting for someone brave enough to want her to go out loud. Tomorrow, this stops being a theory and becomes a small, concrete moments. That's the thought, I have no real friend. Now you hear the truth underneath it. I have no structure that makes friends. And that's fixable, and it's about my worth. The old friend whose name makes you always with guilt, now you know that wasn't a betrayal, it wasn't an earthquake, and the message you're scared to send doesn't need a 3-paragraph apology. Just simple, I miss you. No explanation, just thought of you is enough. The woman at pickup you always click with for 30 seconds, now you see her for what she is, a friendship trapped in a room. One coffee away from becoming real. At the moment you want to invite someone and the fear says don't be desperate, now you know she's behind the same wall and someone has to go first, and it might as well be the one who finally understands why it got so hard. Here is the one thing I want to stay with you after the screen goes dark. You did not fail at friendship. You were handed alone in the leftover minutes of an impossibly fully life. A job that used to belong to an entire village, of course it got hard. It was designed to be shared, and you've been doing it all by yourself. The women before us didn't have warmer souls that we do. They had a structure that held them, and we lost it, and no one told us that it was gone. So we thought the emptiness was ours to be ashamed of. it was never ours. And the good news hiding inside of all of this is almost embarrassing simple. The whole turning turns into the moment one woman stops waiting to be chosen. So think right now of a name. Not your closest person, the one just past that. The one you always meant to keep and quietly left drip. The one whose message you've half written 100 times and never sent. If you pictured her, she is very likely tonight on the other side of the same wall thinking of someone too. If this reached to you, subscribe so you are here for the next one and come sit with me between the videos. I am on Instagram, LinkedIn, both linked below. And that name you just thought of, the one on the other side of the wall, don't close this and let it drift again. Send her this. I was missing.